You're listening to the Crochet Conversations podcast.
Hello, welcome back to another episode of Crochet Conversations.
Hi guys, hi everybody.
It's Inez here with...
And Mel.
So, by the way guys, episode 20
Wow, 20 episodes.
out of this new, to me I still say it as new, it's like a new
Yeah.
podcast, but it's actually 20 episodes, that's
Yeah,
20
already.
weeks. It's
Wow.
like first trimester? No, I don't know.
I don't know, but anyways, 20
anyway.
episodes. Good job, wow.
So, in
Congratulations.
celebration of the big 2-0, we've decided to put forward this episode in two parts. So, we're going to talk about something today, and then, you've clearly already seen it in the title. It's my most
Hated stitches.
crochet stitches.
Uh-huh.
And next week, we're going to talk about our favorite crochet stitches.
Obviously we're going to start off with the hated
The
first,
ones that we
right?
don't like.
like bad
Get it
news
out of the
first,
way.
and then let's talk about what we like.
Yeah, so I have made a list.
Do you have a lot?
I have 8.
Whoa.
Wait, let me count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah, I have 8.
Wow, 8?
I don't even think I have this many favorite crochet stitches. But it's kind of like the pet peeves episode.
Yeah,
That the
yeah.
more we talk about, pet
It's
peeves, the
suddenly
more
like,
we feel
yeah.
like we have more things that we hate.
Yeah.
So anyway, should we just jump right in?
Yeah, let's go. Let's go ahead.
So basically, I have compiled this list based on things that I either A, don't like to do, or I find that it's such a dread, or it's just I don't like the look of it in general. So it's like a combination of these 3 things.
How are we going down the list? Are you like top
I
number
just-
1 or...
No, I just randomly chucked
Okay.
them on a piece of paper. There's no order or anything.
Right.
So don't think that this is based on, whether it's based on complexity of stitches. These are not stitches that are extremely difficult or
Okay.
extremely easy. It's just, I just
You
don't
don't like
them.
it.
Yeah. Do
Okay.
you have any?
No. I don't think I know enough complex or, complicated stitches to have something I like or something I dislike. Most of my stitches that I use
so
are
you would
the
listen
foundation
to me then,
stitches,
right?
yeah.
Okay, so let's just start with the very first one.
Okay.
So I hate the puff stitch.
Puff stitch. Okay.
It's something that I teach in my classes, but I think it's useful to know. I think that a puff stitch in general, I feel like I need to preface this all. So I think a puff stitch is extremely useful to know, but I hate to do it.
So how do you use, when do you use a puff stitch then?
Wherever you want to create texture. So,
Okay.
For those of you who are familiar with our products, I have a flower brooch that I make.
Yep.
And the petals are made using puff stitches.
Okay, so that's a very good example.
Yeah, so it's like you yarn over, pull up a loop, but you pull up a very tall stitch, and then you yarn over again, pull up a loop, a very tall stitch, and then at the end of however many you want to pull up, you yarn over and pull through all.
Okay.
So it creates like a puffy stitch with very long, lean lines, and it's very clearly defined sort of yarn running through like a section.
Okay. Yeah.
But
yeah.
it makes it very puffy, and if you're not good with your tension, not all the yarn strands will be the equal length.
I see.
So
okay.
I think it's very ugly, firstly. And
Okay.
I just don't like...
You don't like puffy things?
I think in general, I don't like stitches that are too loose.
Oh, okay.
Because, I'm a tight crocheter to begin with.
Yeah.
So I find that stitches that are too loose irritate me somewhat. And in this case, you deliberately want it to be
Yeah.
loose, which is
Does it
like, why?
Feel incomplete, do you sort of? Like not
No,
done
it's
properly?
just- yeah, it definitely doesn't feel like it's done properly,
Yeah.
but that's the look of it,
Yeah.
And I think it's if you're crocheting like a nice top, to add a row of puff stitches, it's like too much texture in like a wrong sense.
Yeah.
I like to create textures that is like something like the Celtic weave that is flat to the surface,
Very
you know.
neat, very proper looking, I guess.
Yeah, and tight, really tight stitches that is
Okay.
like flat to the project. I don't like it, and also I feel like structurally, if any of the yarn strands get caught somewhere,
it will come
it's
off.
just gonna rip right out.
Okay. Yeah, fair enough.
So I
Okay,
hate,
being
I really
practical
hate.
there.
Yeah, so for that reason, like Modifications of the puff stitch, like the marshmallow puff or the zigzag puff stitch, I hate to do. Although I must say that the zigzag puff stitch is extremely beautiful. So if you've ever seen pictures of crochet handbags, tiny crochet handbags that's made with t-shirt yarn,
Okay.
you know, they have sort of like the diagonal puff lines.
Yes.
Yeah, I hate to do it. I like the look of it. I just hate to do it.
Like technique wise, it's difficult.
No, it's not difficult. It's just I don't like the feeling of it.
Okay.
I think with t-shirt yarn, it's a lot easier with thicker yarn. But if you have tiny thin strands, it's like hair. You know, like
Oh,
it's just
I
like
see what you mean.
all
Yeah.
these strands just coming out of everywhere.
Yeah,
It's
okay.
just
Okay.
so I don't like
that
it.
description there is a bit. Okay.
Yucky
Got
already,
it.
right?
Yeah.
Okay, so that's number 1.
Okay.
So stitch number 2 that I really don't like is the waffle stitch.
Okay. The waffle stitch.
Once again, it's one of those really pretty looking stitches. I think the waffle stitches, I mean, it looks like waffles.
Yeah.
Who doesn't like waffles? And
Exactly.
it's nice and textured and rich and all that. But I can pinpoint exactly what it is I don't like.
Okay.
And I don't like doing front and back posts, double or trebles. I don't like working in front or back posts of anything. I just think, you know, similar to the puff stitch where it sort of puffs
Yeah.
up. I don't like the look of the front post where it sort of pushes the yarn forward.
Yeah. It's like sticking out, sort of, right?
Yeah, and you know, there are some stitches that are really nice and fun to do, like the alpine stitch where it's, you know, like a ridge.
Okay.
So it's like, you
Sort
know,
of similar.
something like it, but it's all in one vertical direction.
Yeah.
I think the vertical direction, having to do front post doubles or trebles, in whichever case you're using, in one direction is fine. But when it comes to the waffle stitch, I have to do front post and then back post, back post, back post, and then front post, and then back post, back post, back post, and front post.
Okay.
And then, you know, it's like different in every row, and I just don't like the feeling of having to struggle with my work from switching between front post, double, trebles. I usually do trebles, so I'm going to say trebles.
Yeah.
I just don't like the feeling of moving between front post treble and back post treble because, you know, it's got sort of twisted weirdly. Your fabric's not really laying flat. You have to really dig your yarn in it.
Yeah.
Your hook, I mean,
Yeah.
you've got to really dig
Has
your
this
hook
like
in it.
really got to do with tension as well?
Everything has got
Yeah.
to do with tension. And it's that if you don't do the waffle stitch tight enough, it's going to have a lot of holes. It's not going to really have that waffle look. It's not going to have that real clear, defined mini little waffle squares.
Right.
But
Which is the look that you're trying to go for, exactly.
Yeah, but you know, to do that would require you using very tight yarn and having a very tight stitch tension, and that makes it even harder. And on the flip side, if I do it loosely, then it has a lot of holes and it sort of takes away from the effect. So you can't win with the waffle stitch. And I don't like that.
Okay.
I also don't like the basket weave stitch.
Oh,
I think it's very pretty.
Yeah.
I just can't.
Yeah, I remember you trying that one.
I almost did a scarf in it.
Yeah.
You remember that pink scarf that I almost tried to do?
Yes, almost.
I have gotten to about, I think, a third of the way into this scarf. I've already used up 2 balls of yarn in the making of this scarf. But man, it eats up so much yarn. 2 balls and I'm already only a third in.
Yeah.
And so on top of it eating, like being a yarn eater, it's just, I don't know what I was thinking trying to do it. I just don't like it. I don't
Challenge
really eat. I really
yourself.
don't like it.
Yeah.
I feel so.
I guess, but
this
that works with a lot of textured kind of stitches, right?
No, there are some. Okay, so like for example, I mentioned the Celtic weave. It's basically cables. So you know, like how those knitted sweaters look like, they have got those twisted cables.
Yeah.
I think those are extremely pretty, and those also uses front and back post treble crochets.
Okay.
I would much rather do a Celtic weave, even though I know it's much harder. But at least it's sort of like it looks like a braid, and it's flat. It's like stuck flat to your work. It's not popping out.
Yeah.
The way like a waffle
when I was
is.
looking at that stitch, it just reminds me of like, I think I note down my comment, like indented like squares.
Yeah, and I guess when you're working on a very big piece, all the little tiny squares look kind of disgusting.
Yeah. Like
You know,
holes,
it's like
right?
holes.
Yeah.
Yucks, I can't.
okay.
Let's move on.
Yeah, let's move on.
So the next stitch I think it's kind of funny. I'm going to mention this next stitch because I've been talking about it so far.
Okay.
It's the treble crochet.
Okay.
It's one of the basic stitches.
Yeah.
And, you know, if you've attended any of my crochet classes, you know it's in the curriculum that I print out for you guys.
Because it's a fundamental stitch,
It is a
right?
fundamental stitch, but I very rarely teach it.
Oh, okay.
Let me think. Yeah, I think only a handful of times have I actually taught someone how to do a treble crochet. You know, because if you know how to do a double, what's a treble? It's just an extra yarn over, right?
Yeah,
It's
correct.
not too difficult. But I hate the way it looks so like tall. Like you would never do, I don't feel like a treble crochet stitch is a functional stitch.
Right.
You know, it's
Okay.
there purely for design purpose. Like if you want to build something up in like either front or back post yucks
Yeah.
crochet, you know, you need that length and the height, and that's the only way, the
Yeah.
only time I feel that trebles are useful.
Yeah. I mean, it just-
Otherwise, the gap between stitches is too big.
yeah,
it's
correct.
too holy.
Which is what you were talking about, right, in the previous stitches?
Yeah, I
yeah.
hate
They
them.
use a lot of treble. Yeah, maybe that's why.
Yeah, but in general, I don't like treble crochet. So actually, maybe I'm sensing a theme here. Maybe
Yeah.
it's because I don't like treble that
Treble.
I feel.
So any stitch that has treble in it is just a no for you.
Yeah, but I don't think so because I do enjoy the feeling of yarning over twice. I feel like it makes
Okay.
me look so professional.
Oh.
You know, when you're out, when you're crocheting in public and you go yarn over twice and it's like a shoop sort of action, you know, and it makes you feel like it's like
Ah.
you're brandishing your magic wand or something.
Okay.
But yeah, so I hate the treble. I think it's just too long and too
Yeah,
flimsy, full
yeah.
stop.
Yeah.
Now, I haven't even mentioned the stitch that I hate the most of all.
Oh.
I don't know why I didn't put this at the very last one, but I guess, you know, I was just throwing things out.
Yeah, like whatever comes to your head, right?
Yep, and we have talked about this stitch before, and it's just, you know, the only word. So basically in my notebook, beside every stitch that I've written down that I don't like, I have a little explanation
To why you don't like it,
to why
right?
I don't like it. This particular stitch that I'm about to say has no description. It just has one word, and I've written down yucks.
Well, you must really dislike this
I
stitch.
really hate this stitch. I hate the way it feels. I hate the way it looks. I just think there's no way in hell you can make this stitch look pretty and classy. I'm still waiting to be proven wrong.
Is it a difficult stitch?
I mean, it's kind of intermediate to advanced. It's
Okay.
not so easy, but I shan't keep you guys in suspense any longer. This is the crocodile stitch.
Yes, you always talk about this stitch when it appears like somewhere, and then you get so...
The crocodile stitch is just so ugly.
I mean, it is called a crocodile stitch.
And okay, maybe it's because I don't like reptiles, but
Yeah.
I don't think so, okay? I am not, you know, ruling that out. I just think that it's so scaly
Well,
looking.
yeah, I
It's
mean,
so-
I think that's why it's called the crocodile stitch, right?
you
Like,
know, yeah, because it's meant to resemble
Yeah,
scales.
sort of, yeah.
Oh, sorry. I need to take that back. I think the crocodile stitch done up in a Christmas tree looks cute.
Okay,
But it's the construction of the tree that takes away the idea that it's
It's
scales.
scales, yeah.
It looks like leaves, which is
but-
fine.
but yeah, I also wrote down like a note to how I think it looks like. To me, some pictures I've seen, right, it looks like petals to me. So I don't see
Oh,
scales.
okay, right.
So maybe if you take it in that way, it doesn't look so gross.
I think that also has like the type of yarn you use also plays a part.
Okay,
I
yeah.
think most of the time the stitches that I don't like, I mean the yarn that I don't like to see in crocodile stitches is acrylic and variegated. I think this stitch pattern in itself is so busy. I mean, come on, you're putting scales on something.
Yeah.
Right? You kind of want, you know, in order to make it, you know, a little bit classy, you need to make it in a solid color.
Right.
And you need to use a really thin yarn
So that
and
it
a
falls
smaller size
nicely,
hook.
right? Yeah.
Yeah, so
I
that it looks
agree.
more dainty.
Yeah.
But you know, I have seen some real ass ugly photos of people who crochet themselves like a mask, like for COVID.
Oh yes, I've
In
seen
the crocodile stitch, and it looks so funny. And I mean,
Well-
if you're into that, fine.
Yeah.
But I am just saying that I am not into that, and it gives me goosebumps
Yeah.
actually.
I mean, it really looks like a statement piece on her face. So
It's so But it's
Wow.
like, is that the statement you want? No hate. Okay, no hate to anybody who likes this stitch.
Yeah.
Okay, I think, like, on the other hand, that this stitch is pretty fun to do. Mm-hmm. It's not boring because you don't work up in rows. You actually turn your work upside down after every row, and so it's pretty fun actually to do. I wish that the end result just didn't look so ugly.
Yeah, I feel like this stitch needs to have a purpose. Like
Yeah,
you-
it has to be part of something,
something,
constructed.
yeah, correct.
Like a Christmas tree.
yeah, something like that, where you really need it to be in that form. Then it makes sense to be doing a stitch that looks like that. You know,
And you know how acrylic is kind of fuzzy
Yeah,
already? To have this fuzzy,
nurse on this scaly thing.
but it's like, I can't, oh my god, it's like double yucks on top of yucks.
Yucks! Exclamation mark! I see that in your notes.
And it's 2 exclamation marks. Okay,
Okay,
so that's,
so we have like strike off like the most hated one already, right?
yeah, that's the
Okay.
number 1 most hated.
Okay.
So let's follow up with something that I don't like but can still somewhat tolerate.
Okay.
Okay. So this stitch is probably the my least of the least hated.
Okay.
Least of the most hated. Sorry. If I was pushed to kick one of the stitches off this list, this
It
next
will be
stitch
this
would be
one.
this one. Okay. And this is the Granny Square stitch, but in chevron.
Okay.
So it's like a chevron shape, which is like a zigzag stitch, but done up like a granny square in granny square clusters.
Okay.
Basically 3DC clusters, right?
Okay.
And then, you 3DC cluster in the next space.
Mm-hmm.
And you just keep going. And then you do the increase in every peak and you do a decrease in every valley. And that's basically just the granny square stitch and done up in the chevron shape.
Okay.
I don't mind the chevron shape. I don't mind a granny square 3DC cluster. I just don't think that putting the 2 of them together looks modern. And that's why I don't like it.
Ah, okay.
think it looks
I
too
think it looks quite
old.
pretty though. The
Re-
chevron.
Really?
Yeah.
No, I mean, don't think
Am I
about
old
the
school? Shoots.
no, the chevron itself is nice,
Yeah.
but I'm saying that when it's put together with the granny square look, I mean, the granny square isn't the most modern looking
Yeah,
thing
okay,
already.
yeah. Yeah, that's true.
And putting it together, like, have you seen what it looks like?
Yeah, I mean, I wrote it down in my notes here, zigzag. Like,
Yeah,
it
so
looks like
I just think
a
that
lot of zigzag.
it's okay to do, but it looks kind of ugly. It looks kind of dated. I find it very hard that this is a stitch that's very difficult to make it look elegant because the stitch itself looks old school, and unless you're trying to actually go for an old school vibe,
Look,
which
right.
that I like. If you're going like a chevron zigzag or whatever you call it
Yeah.
in granny square clusters, and the idea is to make it look granny chic, then I'm down
Granny
for that.
chic, right.
But when you try to do it up in something like a skirt or sweater or whatever in this
I
stitch,
see what you mean.
I just think it doesn't showcase the beauty of what crochet can do in the modern world.
Okay, yeah,
This
fair
is just
enough.
this is just what I feel, and I think that it's very limiting because when people think about crochet and they think about grandma crochet, they think about this
Something like
granny
this.
square.
Yeah.
Not square. The zigzag or chevron granny 3DC cluster stitch. They
Okay.
think about that. So I just think it's on this list because I feel like it's working against my cause of how modern and beautiful
Of how you want to
crochet can
crochet,
be.
like crochet
Yeah.
to be like, right?
So that's the only reason it's on the list.
Okay.
Okay, so we've moved on to number 6. Now, on number 6, it's actually kind of like a repeat of what I've mentioned already, but it's a different stitch pattern altogether, so I feel like I need to say it.
Okay.
And this is the Daisy Puff stitch, or I think it's also called like the Jasmine stitch, I think.
Okay.
So
it's like a
basically,
flower stitch, is it?
kinda, yeah. So basically, it's like overlapping flower petals, and one side of the flower petal makes the other side of the next flower petal.
Wow.
And basically, it's just like an interwoven flower petal looking thing.
Wow.
The problem is this stitch is done up in the puff stitch, which you know how I feel about
Yeah,
the
the puff stitch, right.
It makes your work super like puffy. I mean, that's the name of it. That's what it's
and
supposed to do,
loose
you know.
and all that. But it
Yeah.
creates that flower look, basically, right?
Yeah, and I actually think that the flower look on its own is so pretty. But I just find, for a scarf, you definitely don't want a scarf made in that stitch because it's, all the strands that are so loose is bound. I bet you it's bound to catch on the button or catch on like a hair tie or a hairpin or your handbag or
Yeah.
something.
Because it's so loose, it's so holy, see that it's just the
and it's like there's no tension holding the yarn down, but the stitch in itself is really pretty. I just, it sort of ties back to what I hate in puff stitches. So it's just one of those stitches that I know that I would never do. If anybody were to come to me with a custom order
and say I want all the puff.
With this
there.
puff stitch, I will turn you down, okay? Even if you offer me like $10,000, I will turn you down.
Okay, maybe Mel will do it then. I mean,
you can try. Then
I can try.
Maybe it will be on you.
Yeah, maybe like treble will be like my next favorite stitch.
Oh my god. Okay, moving on to the 7th out of 8. Okay, this one is the arcade stitch.
Oh.
And okay, once again, it's got to do with the look thing.
Okay.
I
a lot of this is about the look, not so modern, maybe a little bit old-fashioned.
Yeah, actually,
Or gross or yuck looking.
A lot of them have to do with the look, and plus if the construction is made out in treble or like front or back post, then it's like, oh my god, does it have to exist?
Yeah, why?
So basically, the arcade stitch is there's just too many holes and too many spaces, and it feels like the reverse of the crocodile stitches. So how you have basically the arcade stitch is done up using like arches, right? So lots of DCs, you chain however many and you put lots of DCs into that chain.
Okay, yes.
Right, and so it creates like a little diamond-y or like a triangle little gap in between.
Yeah, how I see it is like little fans, like mini fans. Where you open up the fan.
Yeah, that's right. So I just think that it looks like the reverse of the crocodile stitch. And what I mean by that is that while the crocodile stitch has got too many things popping out, the arcade stitch has not enough things to fill up the space. So it's very holy.
Okay.
And I guess it sort of plays back to why I don't like the waffle stitch, because it looks like it's got many, many holes.
When I see this arcade stitch, right, it looks like it looks like lace to me. Is that what it's supposed to look like?
Yeah, actually, if you work with really, really thin yarn, like maybe even smaller than the size 1, maybe like a lace weight, like a size 0, and you use like a 0.95 mm crochet hook, you could come out with a very pretty lace that you could then, sew onto your clothes or whatever. And I think it's nice for lace, but lace crochet is like a whole other world.
Yes, correct. Yeah, that's
altogether.
true. Okay.
And if you're gonna recreate this in like regular yarn, it's still holy.
Yeah,
I don't like
to
it.
like be anything, right?
And I feel like it's very similar to like, like all the holes in the granny square chevron and like.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
I don't
now
like
that
all
you
the
say it,
holy stuff. Like puff stitch where there's a lot of loft in between the fibers and in between the yarn strands. It's just like I like things to be nice, neat, and tight, all lined up in a row. Stitch after stitch.
Okay.
Yeah, that's why I don't like it. So let's
I
move
do see
on.
a pattern though.
Do you see a pattern?
Yeah.
What are you seeing?
Like basically the opposite of what you like, which is like loose stuff or things that are very holy or doesn't really have much of a structure. Or
I guess that
there's no
the way I
purpose for that
crochet
pattern.
also plays a part.
Yeah.
Because I'm naturally a tight crocheter. I've only recently allowed myself to use a size 5 mm crochet hook
experiment?
with like a regular worsted weight. Yeah, because I feel like it gives me better drape and all that, but it's everything in me is resisting the urge to change to a
smaller one.
3.5 mm crochet hook, and that plays a big difference.
Yeah.
I just like the look of a structured fabric. And I guess that's why in my personal style as well, like fashion style, I like blazer coats, I like pants, I like structured things.
Yeah.
I do like the flowy ones, but it has to be paired. Like a flowy dress has to be paired with like a nice structured blazer, and I like things neat.
Yeah.
And
this
tucked
your
up in a
style,
row.
which
and so
goes back to you how you crochet.
and so the reverse is that I don't like all the stitches that don't fit with that, right?
Yeah, correct.
So there's nothing against these stitches.
Yeah.
It's just not me. I just can't bring myself to like it no matter how I try. Okay, but let's move on to the final stitch that I don't like.
Okay.
And this is the long double crochet stitch. So it's like a double crochet. It's basically a double crochet. It's just that you pull it up really tall.
I had to really read into this stitch to try to understand what do
How?
they mean? Like how does it work?
Right, okay.
To see, because I'm not very good at reading patterns or looking
yeah.
at. So I had to watch like a couple of videos.
Oh, did you?
I'm very invested in this.
And
to,
so like
to figure out.
what the long double crochet
Because
is.
when you look at the pictures, right, they're just pulling it.
Yeah.
I'm thinking, what is
are
going
they
on?
pulling?
Yeah, exactly.
So the way they pull the long double crochet stitch feels like the way you pull up for a puff stitch.
okay, yeah, which I understand that now.
Yeah, and I just think in general, like if you're gonna make a scarf, say with the long double crochet, pulling it up that way makes it look like the underside of mushrooms. You know, like the little gills of the mushrooms. And I mean,
I cannot.
You understand that, right?
Yeah,
you don't
because
like
I don't
mushrooms.
like mushrooms and the look of it. So
Yeah.
you just visually put that into my head now, and
Yeah, and
that's
don't you
gross.
think like the long double crochet, by pulling it up so high, kind of looks like that? And you know, to me, like the puff stitches all have that same look.
Yeah, okay. You know, but when I was researching into this, I saw somebody using this long double crochet on the scarf, I think. So it's like sections of the scarf. with
Yeah,
that.
I
And
don't, I can't.
I think it was okay though. I mean, if it's like done up properly, right?
I guess if you have the right material that looks nice, if you have a nice sort of drape to your fabric, which means that you've done up your tension correctly, I guess
Yeah.
it could sort of look nice.
Yeah.
But I think I am not coming from a point of view of the finished product, how it looks, because
Yeah.
I'm talking about
The stitch
crocheting
itself, right.
from my point of view. And so when I'm crocheting it, I'm looking at it up close. Like I'm scrutinizing every stitch to make
Yeah.
sure I do it correctly. And I think it looks so gross that way.
For me, looking at like the summary of all these stitches that you're talking about, right?
Yeah.
I think because I'm always thinking like, how can I use this stitch into something that I can create like a finished product or something? For example, if I'm using
You never ever
in a
want to use
scarf.
these stitches, I promise you.
Okay, I'm thinking if I were to use these stitches, I probably cannot. Like I only can use like a few of them in the full product.
Yeah,
for
yeah,
example,
yeah,
you know what I mean?
that's
Then
right.
it would look so bad.
But you see like the daisy puff stitch or like the what did I say it was? See, I don't even remember. But like the daisy puff
Jasmine.
stitch. Oh yeah, the jasmine
There you
stitch,
go,
for
yeah.
example. The whole piece is done up that way. There is no
Like only
no
one
sections.
section. Okay.
Yeah, because if you were to do a regular double crochet stitch and there's one section with like that daisy puff stitch or the jasmine stitch, it's gonna look so weird. It's gonna be one section that's sort of like extra puffy,
Oh,
you know. And
okay.
I just don't like that look. I like a very clean.
Wait, okay, I
piece,
understand. Yeah.
You know, with
And
a
that's your
nice
style,
drape.
yeah,
and that's
for
my
sure.
personal style. And I feel like in order to bring forward the idea that crochet can be nice and fresh and modern,
Yeah.
I think modern is the key word here.
Yeah.
All these stitches that I'm
Need to
talking
go.
about need to disappear because it just
Is
it's
there
like,
no way to make all these stitches look classier? Or
you could say, for example, the puff
Kind of
stitch.
like,
you
you
could
know.
do it really, really small. But then, what's the point?
Yeah,
It just,
okay,
You know,
yeah.
if you do a puff stitch really small, it just looks like a blob. It looks like a knot in your work. And
Okay.
I also don't like knots in
Yeah.
my work. You know,
Yeah,
which is
okay.
why I also. Oh, you know what? Bonus one more for you. I don't like the popcorn stitch.
Okay, yeah. I actually wrote like popcorn and like puff together. Is it because they look similar?
Yeah, they do, and I'm surprised it's not on my list here. But
Yeah.
I
Okay,
just-
basically things that stick out on your product, you just cannot. You just take it
yeah,
away.
I think the popcorn stitch looks like pimples.
Oh my god, gross. Okay.
If I have a nice flat piece, having the popcorn stitch out looks like
Yeah.
tiny pimples.
Actually,
or like
yeah.
or like the bobble stitch.
No,
you know, the
yeah, I
bobble
cannot.
stitch is another one of those things. It's like so many holes, and I've seen some crochet patterns for tops online or pillows that have the bobble stitches all set up side by side in a row. It looks so gross. I
you
cannot.
just kind of want to like remove it, right? Like grab it and like take it
Yeah,
out.
I just want to cut it off, and I know I cannot because that's part of the stitch.
Yeah.
But I just think it looks so gross to have all these like little
why?
bulbous,
Yeah.
and it looks, you know, it looks like pimples to me. So I always imagine that it's filled with disgusting
Oh my
yucky
goodness,
stuff.
I cannot.
You know, so I don't like those
Okay.
stitches for that reason.
Okay, fair enough.
So yeah, those. I feel like I need to take a breather after this.
Yeah.
I've just spent half an hour thinking
Yeah.
about all the yucky things that I don't like in crochet.
Well, this is a good release, right? Like you like
No, I
got
don't
it all
like to
out,
think about it.
you
So
know.
I actually can't wait to get onto the stitches that I actually
you
do
like,
like.
yeah.
So I want to preface this again by saying that these stitches that I don't like, it's not because of its complexity. I am not hating on anybody who likes them or uses them. I think there's a time and place for them all.
Yeah, for sure.
I mean, I like to do those flower brooches or like little flowers, and I will use the puff stitch, and even though I don't like it, if I have to use it, I will.
Yeah.
With the exception of the crocodile stitch, but. And I've done the swatches from the arcade stitch before, and I think it's very pretty looking.
Yeah.
In a very big blanket. I mean, you're right in the sense that on the scale of like a big project, you're not really going to see it.
Yeah.
And the different stitches does give it that complexity.
Yeah, like for example, the long double crochet, when I see a finished product, on certain sections of the product, it really does look nice. It gives that different kind of texture, the different kind of look, the different kind of design and pattern. And yeah, it really looks nice.
And I guess also, this really boils down to the designer.
Yeah.
Because I think if you had put a combination of all these stitches that I say I don't like into like a blanket, don't laugh. I'm actually really trying
to visualize
it. But you use like a nice light cream colored yarn and, get a proper, maybe don't get acrylic because it's like a lot of fluff, right? Maybe get cotton, get like a nice cream colored cotton, find your tension for that, make like a nice big minimalist looking thing, and you combine all these yucky stitches.
Maybe you would change your mind.
I think that it would actually look quite pretty, because I know, like you said, if you look at it on a whole, it's nice. It creates that complexity, creates that
texture,
that intricate sort of detailing that a modern piece would require. And I think if you do it all in one same color, it's it's the concept in fashion where it's like black on black or white on white.
Yes.
And I think that could kind of work, but
and maybe the texture parts don't stick out and stand out so awkwardly and
weirdly. Because you're not focused on any one thing. You're focused on the whole look of it. And I am deliberately excluding the crocodile stitch from any of this conversation
because there's no way in hell that's gonna look nice, right?
No way I'm gonna accept that. But like I think it could look nice. From afar, it's just
very, very, very far away. It can look kind of past.
Yeah, so from afar, I think it looks nice. So that's just my point of view. Let's move on and talk about something else nicer, like my favorite stitches.
Yeah.
So I think we should move on. Let's cap this episode up. I need to make myself like a calming cup of Earl Grey tea and relax with it, because all this talk has got me thinking about all the yucky things, like I said, that I don't like. So if you disagree with me, and I think that some people might disagree with me, or if you agree with me, leave me a comment and let me know on our Instagram. You can find us on Instagram or Facebook. We are at Cricket Crochet SG, or you can WhatsApp me directly. I would love to have a conversation with you about all these yucky stitches. Just please no exchanging photos of stitches because they're just as bad. But you can WhatsApp us at 91272743.
Yeah, or you can email us at cricketcrochetsg@gmail.com.
Yeah, and check back next week for part 2 of this stitches galore kind of thing.
Where she will be happier to talk to you more about her favorite stitches.
I will be so much happier. I don't have as many, but because I like them, I might
go on.
I might just go on and on.
Yeah.
And you can tell this episode I just wanting to get it over and done with.
Crocodile stitch, yuck.
Let's not mention that word anymore.
Sorry.
Okay? So we'll see you in our next episode. Stay tuned for part 2 of our favorite stitches.
See you guys.
We'll catch you then.
Bye.
Bye.